Thank you for joining us on GlobalScience. From Hong Kong, Anthony Chan, the CEO of Isola Capital Limited, will share his insights on the exciting family office sector. Isola Capital is one of Hong Kong's top innovative family offices. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Bruce.
Thank you. Anthony, most of our viewers are not familiar with the concept of a family office. What is a family office?
A family office is a private company that basically serves primarily to manage the investments and wealth for ultra-high net worth families. Very often, they also provide ancillary services that could be managing the philanthropic causes that they support, could be for legacy management, for corporate governance, and then also very often just to ensure that there's capital preservation so that the wealth can be transmitted to the next generations and support their future development.
Now, why have family offices in Asia developed and accelerated so rapidly in recent years?
Well, family offices were not prevalent in Asia before. If you think about it, a lot of the wealth that's been created in Asia, and in particular, let's say in North Asia and certain parts of South Asia, were all over the last 20 years. So a lot of them are first generation or second generation wealthy, whereas in Europe and the US, you've had family offices now that are up to 8th generation. So when you have all this recent wealth that's been garnered over the recent past, they're looking for opportunities to deploy that's beyond the traditional basic cash equities and fixed income. So as a result, family office vehicles provide a very good solution if families want to start deploying into those different aspects.
Some of our viewers may want to know why they should consider setting up a family office. What are the benefits of establishing a family office compared to a general asset management company?
There are a host of benefits, but I guess the first one is family offices are private vehicles, so they offer a lot of flexibility. But generally, family offices have to hire professional people to execute the objectives of that family office. So if you think about it, as a wealthy individual or wealthy family, sometimes it's not appropriate to just hire people inside your existing family business. So a family office vehicle allows you to basically create a business, a company that hires professional individuals that can execute, whether it's on the investment management side, on the philanthropic side, and on the legacy management side.
Fascinating. Family offices are now actively investing in alternative asset classes such as private equity, venture capital, private credit, and social impact related investments. Why are alternative investments so popular with family offices?
So maybe just to do a comparison, maybe as recently as 20 years ago, most of the ultra-high net worth, including family offices, were very conservative because if you had a meaningful amount of liquid assets, you could simply put capital into investment-grade fixed income and even time deposits, and you would be earning mid to high single-digit returns, and you would complement that with some cash equity exposure, which was pretty plain vanilla, that would give you capital gain and dividend distributions. But if you look in the past, let's say 12, 13 years, where we're in a low interest rate environment in most major currencies, putting money in a current account or a savings deposit account doesn't generate any return. So as a result, to complement and supplement their portfolio construction, a lot of ultra-high net worth and family offices have shifted towards alternatives in the strategies that you've mentioned. And they've generally gone from around 5 to 10% of the portfolio to now about 25 to 30% of the portfolio, especially if you're including real estate private equity.
As the global economy recovers, signs of tapering are gradually emerging. How do you foresee the future, and how are family offices and the ultra-high net worth investors revising their investment strategies?
Well, generally, family offices think very long-term. So we're not looking at near-term cycles. We're looking at capital preservation and then obviously making targeted returns. So it's not a general investment strategy to just make random returns every year, irrespective of whether there is so-called tapering or easing in the not tightening of the monetary policy. It's not going to affect how they deploy on an annual basis very much. But what it does do is cause them to think a little bit about how you want to allocate to alternatives to make sure that 3 years out, 4 years out, 5 years out, you're making certain types of returns from your private equity, venture capital, private credit exposure.
Now, finally, Anthony, can you recommend interesting sectors to our viewers today?
We look across the market, and what we see are three very clear segments that if you pick the right exposure in those three segments, generally they should be medium to long term, very fruitful and rewarding. Mega cap tech stocks have performed very well. They all generate tremendous revenue growth. They're still double digit. They have high profitability. They have strong balance sheet. Some of them have in excess of 150 billion US of cash on balance sheet. They are very active in M&A. So they themselves are functioning not to grow organically only, but inorganically. So it allows them to basically build out segments or strategies that they're not able to develop themselves. So they're very self-sustainable. The other one that maybe is not so obvious, but if you think through it, makes a lot of sense, would be the large global banks that have both the wholesale side and also the asset managed side of the business, including wealth management. There's been a tremendous amount of wealth created in this part of the world, for example, in Asia. If you add the US and China, they have more than 50% of the world's billionaires, and all of them need help to manage their capital deployment.
Anthony Chan, dynamic CEO of Isola Capital Limited, thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. We had the great pleasure of speaking with Anthony Chan today. Until we meet next week, please be safe and healthy.